Okay, so the recording has started now. I would like to thank everyone for attending our monthly community call. This is the first one. We are building a civic participation tool that we are calling Agora, that's founded by the European Union under the NGI Next Generation Initiative. And so here is the agenda of today. The Q&A session will be recorded as well. If you have questions that are directly related to our project, and then we will open the floor up for an informal discussion. So it's been 20 years since Facebook was launched. And today, over 60% of the world populations are using social media. It's one of the most important spheres for civic participation. However, a very big issue that it has is bots. According to a report, 30% of internet bots is generated by malicious bots. And computational propaganda has been used by malicious actors, even including some governments, to manipulate public opinion. And the effect is devastating, as we can see examples from 2010 up to the recent Southport knife attack. And it shows how a fake news created by AI could be amplified so fast and spread on the internet, and it would eventually turn into just something really destructive for the societies. And in order to deal with these issues, people are responding to it with different solutions. For example, Elon Musk himself tried to make Twitter payable as a way to eliminate these bot problems. And however, as we can see from these examples, it's not very efficient. On the other hand, there are also some politicians, including a deputy in France who recently called for the end of anonymity on the internet. And we believe that this is a pretty extreme measure, and it would create serious privacy issues. And because we believe that anonymity and trust on the internet, they don't necessarily have to go against each other. And how? By bringing identity into this mix. So we discovered the movement of self-sovereign identity over a year ago. And what it does is that it brings humans into the center. As individuals, we should have control over our digital identities, just as how we have our IDs saved securely in our real-life wallets. And I'm not going to go into very technical details here, but the idea is that with digital identities that are based on the self-sovereign identity model, we are able to access services from opening a bank account, booking a flight ticket, to verifying our account on X. And this will be done in a way that respects our privacy. As a very simple example, if I have to verify my age on a website, I would not need to scan my passport in order to do that. I would just generate cryptographic proofs from my digital wallet. And so basically the service provider will not have more information than needed. They would just know that I have the age, but they will not need to know my birth date or even my name. So based on this, we see that a lot of democratic governments around the world are working on national ID projects based on self-sovereign identity. And that's also why we had the idea to create a new kind of social media that utilizes self-sovereign identity in order to have verifiability, but privacy at the same time, in order to protect freedom of speech. And so in April last year, we applied to NGI Trust Chain, this grant program in the EU, with nothing but an idea. The grant program itself is about bring human into the center, to build an internet of humans. And we didn't succeed. However, based on this grant proposal, it actually helped us lay out our roadmap for the next 9 months. And then Nico, he started working full-time to develop the first version of a posting protocol that that basically allows users to post as, for example, anonymous humans, anonymous women, anonymous students of a university, or anonymous citizens of the country. And the posts will be disassociated from the user accounts. And in December last year, we implemented an MVP at a French business school, ASEC, based on this posting protocol. And through this pilot, we validated that there is a real need for a safe space for people to express their opinions, to exchange their opinions genuinely without fear of retribution. However, through this social experiment, we also found out some other issues, for example, trolling. And then our focus started to become, how can we use anonymity to bring out the best in people, and how can we minimize the potentially disruptive behavior such as trolling in order to keep the environment constructive. And we tinkered with different technologies, including using natural language processing, for example, to suggest to users ways to rewrite their posts in a more positive, respectful way. And however, when we traveled to DICE, Zurich, it's a digital identity conference, we discovered even a better solution to do that, and that is a bridging-based ranking algorithm, which I will mention in the next slide. But we learned a great deal from this experience, from this pilot at ASEC Business School. And in May this year, we were finally selected by the third open call of NGI Trust Chain, and we are super, super grateful for this opportunity that allows us to focus 100% on building Agora, the project that we are all involved in right now. And well, in Greek, Agora means the gathering place. And in ancient Athens, citizens, they could come to the Agora and engage in any political, social activities, but also commercial and religious as well. It was basically the center of a citizen's political and social life. And our goal is to build a digital public square. And with today's technologies, we can revolutionize civic participation. And for this tool, it's going to be privacy first, as well as resistant to computational propaganda. Because based on the use of cryptography and digital identities based on SSI, we are able to have that. We are able to have anonymity, but verifiability at the same time. And on the other hand, we are also building a censorship-resistant infrastructure and to make moderation accountable. So we believe we are not using this tool to deal with the human aspect of moderation. For example, who should moderate, what content should moderate. We believe that this should all be part of a democratic process to be decided jointly, collectively, instead of by us or any creators of the tool. And the last part, depolarizing, is also based on our previous learning from the previous pilots. And so how Agora works is that in the first step, we will allow users to connect with their wallet of choice, any wallet that contains their digital identities. And for now, we are working with a company called Rarimo, and Rarimo basically allows you to scan your physical passports, and then your identity information will be saved securely in your own mobile wallet. You will not leave your mobile. And then based on this, you are able to, for example, send a cryptographic proof proving that you're anonymous French citizen, for example, without revealing your name or other personal information that you do not want to share. So basically, in the second step, in Agora, we will have one forum, so one Agora for each country. We will also have a World Agora as well for people to discuss things that are related to their countries in a more local context or in a global context. So yeah, that's the idea. And the third stage is how to make these conversations meaningful. And for now, we believe that bridging-based algorithm has proven to be very effective in building consensus. And in particular, a tool called Police. It's developed in Seattle, but has been utilized by many governments, including the Taiwanese government, in order to crowdsource ideas on very controversial topics. So we are it's also an open source tool, which is amazing. And since we're also building in the open source, we basically want to experiment with this new way of having conversations on the social network instead of the very common reply trees that we see on Twitter or Facebook. And so here is a list of our current priorities for the next 6 months. We are actively building the product. We are right now in the process of UI UX design. And this is where we are also calling our community to help us to participate in the co-creation of the tool, because we want to involve everyone even before the MVP is released. We are working on the wireframes and prototypes that we will use to conduct user interviews. And then we will launch the MVP in October. And we will invite everybody to try and test it before we launch country-specific pilots in partnerships with, for example, Brianna at IoT and perhaps some other organizations as well. And so, yeah. Let's build the Agora of our dreams. And thank you so much for coming here today. And feel free if you have any specific questions before we stop the recording.
Hi guys, I really loved your presentation. Thank you so much. I love the idea and the angle you're coming at it from. I think Polis is a really cool tool. One thing I'm really interested in is how do you plan to, what are you planning on launching with, and how do you plan to ensure that quite early on you get interesting conversations that are interesting for people visiting the platform?
Yeah, so how we want to use Police is to basically adopt the form of a wiki survey instead of a reply tree on classic forums. So instead of letting people reply to each other directly, we are going to show them other people's comments and also let them vote on the comments. Yeah.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, I'll have a look at that link.
Thanks.
Do you have, is the idea to have like a feed with content, or is it going to be more personalized?
Yeah, exactly. We want to have a feed, for example, all the trending conversations in a country or all the trending global topics. and then whoever that has a biometric passport can participate in these discussions based on their eligibility, so citizenship. And we know that for now, not everybody has a passport. So that's a huge constraint in our current solution. But our goal really is to include as many kinds of verifiable credentials as possible in the future. And we are also working with an activist lawyer, and as a part of their project, they are trying to provide identities for refugees and people, basically, whose passports have been canceled. So, yeah. But for now, the Rarimo's solution is the most mature, and they already used it to carry out even the presidential election votes, basically, in Russia and some other countries, to allow anyone with for example, a Russian passport to vote anonymously and verifiably. And yeah, and the tool is called the Freedom Tool. It's pretty cool, and we're in contact with the team to build the integration part. Charles.
Hi. Yes, I'm just listening in, and I had a question that, and if I followed you correctly, I can't quite picture how it's all going to come together, and I'm excited, of course. But in terms of the idea of threads and exchanging between people on from Polis, or I think, and actually, you know, and some of you know Audrey Tang's work out of Taiwan and sort of globally, and she's been touring, and she was here in Zurich, and I heard her talking directly about one of the advantages of Polis is there is no threading. There is actually no direct engagement and sort of conversation, and that avoids the trolling and the flaming and so on. So I'm sure you've thought about this a bit, but I'm wondering if there's kind of a quick way to express the approach or how to basically avoid those dark patterns. Thanks.
I think Polis is a super great tool for the use case of surveying a selected group of people, and how we are using it is basically to replace a comment section in a thread as a weekly survey. So basically, that's how we are using it, instead of letting people reply to each other directly.
Got it. Okay, no, that's great. Thanks.
For example, in our previous MVP at ASAC, there was one thread that got like 40 something comments, which was, do you ever regret attending ASAC? And there were a lot of high quality comments. And however, we also noticed how some people started trolling each other. So that's why I was thinking that what if this was done in the form of a wiki survey instead of just a common reply tree. And that's how we had the idea to have a different kind of comment section. Yes, Cedric.
So, for example, there's a topic and there are comments. Yes, people are not replying to each other, but how do you prevent doxing? For example, I don't remember well, but the trolling could happen by naming certain individuals who are maybe public figures or even well known within the school, let's say people who are like visible in public a lot, and then people could start talking about how X person decided to say a certain thing at a certain event, and how that's not a good thing or a bad thing, and then people can just start trolling. Or even the fact that if they're talking about issues such as like really sensitive issues like safety of women and stuff like that, and there can be stuff where people can start naming individuals and doxing other individuals. I mean, this irrespective of whether certain individuals are criminal or not.
Yeah.
This is an issue that's already happening on public platforms.
Yeah. Absolutely. So for this platform, we are also going to adopt the same rule, which is no naming individuals unless we are talking about public figures. So this is a place to discuss ideas, but not to make accusations of individuals. For example, it's for not like for Me Too movement where you accuse someone directly, because there is no way to verify that statement. Yeah, so we will not allow mentioning of personal names unless they are politicians.
Yeah, I just want to say that Me Too is a movement that was done in I mean, the person who accused the others, they are doing it publicly. So that's why it's good, because they are accountable for what they say, right? But if you do it anonymously, it's a bit complicated.
Yeah. Yeah, however, we believe that anonymity could be used, for example, to discuss the things, not people, to discuss ideas, to discuss policies, regulations, for example.
I have a quick question. So you mentioned that it would be used for everything else except for public figures. For instance, here in the US, we're recently having a lot of the political conventions. How would we handle it on YouTube or different platforms like this? There's a lot of like interference and information on both sides that might not be statistically relevant. And if we are approaching governments in other cities to make use of such platforms, how would we handle such information on this particular platform?
So I think when we approach municipalities, governments, for example, what we are selling is basically a platform, a wiki survey platform, where it's not only the governments themselves that are sending out the surveys, but it's the citizens that are creating surveys that they're interested in.
That makes sense. And I think we could probably start to maybe aggregate data in real time. So if there is a statement or a comment, it would go against the larger group.
Yeah,
it could compare
yeah.
directly. Or if somebody made a statement, then it could cross-reference in real time, maybe.
Yeah, we want to allow the ability for people to provide a link, for example, to support what they are saying. Yeah, because many of the times, if you just ask people what's their source, it can also solve a lot of issues. Go ahead, George.
Thanks, Yuting. Yeah, it's such an interesting problem space. It's one that I've thought a lot about. One of the problems that I often find myself coming across conceptually is if you're opening up polling and wiki survey and discussion on topics to such a wide audience, oftentimes a lot of people might not necessarily be educated on a particular problem, and they might not be particularly experienced. And if you form a consensus of opinion with a bunch of people who aren't educated about a sensitive policy or something like that, it can actually be quite harmful and dangerous. Do you guys have any plan for how you might approach that? Like, do you have any tools that will help educate users about topics, or is there some way of like weighting the algorithm towards people with proven experience in certain areas?
Yeah, I think we could still solve this issue by giving credential to experts, to give their statements more weight in the algorithm. However, regarding what you say, most people today, yes, they are not maybe enough educated about certain issues, but they can vote, and that influence election outcomes. So,
for sure.
Yeah, so I personally think it's better to have a platform where people can actually discuss things, and yeah. Yes, Satik.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Following George's question, so let's say that you do decide that certain experts, but then how would people engaging in discussions know this person is an expert or not because they're anonymous? Would you have certain tag that this person is an expert, and how would you decide that?
Nico, do you want to maybe expand more on this?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah. Like George pointed out, that a lot of people might not be educated about a particular topic that requires you to have a certain amount of knowledge. And to that response, you said that you would try to have experts to talk about it, or even like so that they comment on these topics, right? But then if it's an anonymous platform, how would other people who are not experts know that certain individual is an expert and their opinion has more weight and has meaning? Because normally, without any tag, people are able to define their explain their opinions with decent amount of reasoning, and therefore, normally in the platforms today, people who have been consistently able to depict the ability to explain their opinions with profound depth and insight are often considered as experts. But in an anonymous platform, at the beginning, how would you do that? How would you tags? How would you consider certain individual as an expert?
So in the platform, we don't consider individuals. That's the innovation. Also, there is no notion of accounts of like you don't see any pseudonym that are associated with what people say. So I think it's a shift from what you are used to in other social media platform, and it's a way to like recenter on the content itself. And as you said, who is considered expert is normally logically someone who come up with a logically articulated, response with, that is backed by data and links, and research. This is something interesting, and I don't believe I think it's a vision. I think like our vision is that I don't think you need to know who posted to agree with this makes sense, right? And so the idea that we have is we want to try, right, is to say that maybe experts are, I think there is a research that has proven, and there is a lot of research that prove many things, but there is a research that has proven that collective intelligence can achieve more than individual experts. So this is the bets that we are trying, right?
Yeah, and this is also, this is a direction that X, for example, is taking with community notes as a fact-checking tool. However, it is controversial whether expert fact-checkers will be more efficient than collective intelligence. And yeah, ideally we want to have both, right? Yeah.
Clear.
So then I can't resist this question, which is where does AI fit in or come in, or when? Yeah. Sorry, I mean, I can't stand the term AI, but that's pointing exactly in this direction. Yeah.
Nito, do you want to explain?
I don't think we use particularly AI like this. AI is not the core aspect of our innovation at all. I think in terms of data processing, like police works with machine learning, with classic machine learning algorithm. I think it's even just statistical, just statistics, right? It's not so complex. And the AI that we would use would be maybe to gather, to summarize quickly how a very complex conversation, imagine a poll, imagine a conversation that has like there are like thousands of people who commented, and you want to have a quick idea of what are the different polarizing opinions, what is the the opinion that seems to be liked by people from different polarized opinions, and this in a very short, in a very short way. And I think the police team is working exactly on that. They are working with LLMs in a way that you can just ask the AI, please, can you help me to summarize the information so that I can extract from this large, complex conversation some insights, right? I don't know if I'm being clear. Maybe you
No.
can.
No, that's great.
rephrase.
I mean, basically, just because you started using the term collective intelligence, and I think you illustrated very well what I'm feeling. It's just different terms for the same, more or less the same principle. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. Does anybody else has questions related to the project, or? Otherwise, I guess we could stop the recording and open for more informal discussions. If you're okay, just maybe, yeah. Okay, cool. I'm going to stop the recording now. Thank you so much for participating, for joining the call.